Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another hearty episode of Down the Rabbit Hole. I am your host, Craig, along with
Jason. How's everybody tonight? We are fine. Thanks for asking.
Yep, I screwed up. It's Down the Bunny Rabbit's Hole.
It's only episode 7, 8, 9, 5, 52, set hut. But we'll get it right one of these days. So if you want the actual name of the show, you can go to our website. It's bunnyrabbitshole.com. And we have lots of fun stuff there eventually.
Yeah.
Eventually we'll have shirts and T-shirts and...
By the time you hear this, it's probably going to be set up.
Yes. So we are recording a bunch of these in advance. And so we're actually probably talking like from your distant past.
Right.
So
tonight's episode is going to be about Easter eggs and adult humor in cartoons, but we did a previous podcast about events that changed history, and we excluded one major event because we're going to do an entire podcast on that event, and that was the Civil Rights Movement.
Correct. Yes, and we it was in our notes to say that, yes, the Civil Rights Movement was a huge momentum switching event in our history, in our past. It was in our notes, and we did run out of time, and we forgot to say that, yes, we do believe the Civil Rights Movement was huge.
Right.
But we do plan on doing a whole podcast devoted to civil rights activism and figures that changed how we look at society as a whole today. So it's coming. Don't yell at us. Quit yelling at us, please.
I'm sure we'll come up with many, many rabbit holes during that one.
Oh, yes. We're sensitive, so please stop.
Right. Okay, so tonight we start out with cartoons. Everybody likes cartoons. And
I love cartoons.
You know one thing I learned about cartoons doing my research?
What is that, Craig?
The writers for cartoons are perverted and borderline pedophiles.
They are some sick, overworked, twisted individuals.
Yes.
And it's funny because as we go into this too, it's not like it's a new thing. It's not like it's an old thing that's been corrected. This is something that's going on since animation has started.
Yes.
Like some of the early Nickelodeon flip things were just ways to watch porn.
Right.
So we're going to go into, I'm not going to go too far into a rabbit hole right now, but this was fun because I got to see things from, my childhood in a whole different light.
Right.
You always heard rumors about this stuff, but when you start actually like going back and you see different things, and we're not even talking about the new, if you go down to Pornhub and watch like they're taking two different animated characters and have them have sex. We're not talking about this. We're talking about legitimate Disney movies, Pixar movies, cartoons and Cartoon Network. We're talking about not even like Adult Swim cartoons. We're talking like legitimate children's cartoons that have got some racy stuff in them.
Right. So where do we start? Oh my God. There's so many. I mean, like I said, I have 7 pages worth of notes on this stuff. I mean, I think we should start with, since it was out when we grew up, I think we should start with the Looney Tunes.
Oh, definitely.
Bugs Bunny. Bugs Bunny was one of the hugest perverts on the face of the earth. There was so much gay and rape humor being used in Looney Tunes that it was just unreal. I mean, you look at like Pepe Le Pew. I mean, he's basically forcing himself on women, and people are like, "Oh, this is funny."
Pepe Le Pew was a straight up rapist. I mean, you look at Quagmire from Family Guy today and you say, "Oh, nah, that dude's a rapist." Yes, he is, but Pepe Le Pew, straight up assault, serial rapist.
Yeah,
and he attacked the same woman over and over and over and over.
Right.
but it was a different era. We laughed at it.
Right.
Oh, he's just that kissy little skunk.
Right. And the gay humor, because you got Bugs is always cross-dressing, and then you've got Elmer and Yosemite there all of a sudden attracted to Bugs, and so you have all that humor there, that really probably isn't suitable for kids.
Right.
But I mean, there is just so many twisted things. Like there was one episode here where Yosemite Sam goes to jail at the hands of Bugs Bunny. And while he's there, they hint that he's going to have a new romantic relationship with his cellmate, but it might not be consensual. I mean, that's pretty twisted for a kid to be watching. And,
yeah, exactly. Because Yosemite Sam was such a dick.
Yeah.
And you knew that he was about to be violated in a lot of inappropriate ways. Somehow it seemed justified.
Right.
So even though maybe at 6, 7, 8 years old, I didn't understand that the physics behind the penetration that was going to happen to Yosemite Sam, and but you still it was weird because you still kind of thought it was funny because he deserved it. He's kind of a jerk.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and I look back at these cartoons and I'm like going, can you imagine if they were doing that? They were writing it and they wrote them for adults and actually had them for adults and had like explicit language and stuff, because I could just see Yosemite Sam going, I hate that fucking rabbit.
Oh, yeah. Who was it? Robin Williams, I think, was the one that had a similar line in one of his stand-up bits.
Yeah. You got like basically you Foghorn Leghorn, being that Southern racist too. He's like, I'll say boy, and we all know what people in the past in the South meant by when they said boy.
Oh, definitely. Well, there was I have in my notes here a 1953 episode called Southern Fried Rabbit.
Okay.
Bugs Bunny is a lot darker toned than he normally is. He's a lot browner than what Bugs normally is, because Bugs is normally gray. And this one, he is definitely in blackface as a slave, and Yosemite Sam is in straight up Civil War officer gear. And Bugs is a slave.
Yeah.
So there was a lot of racial overtones.
Oh yeah.
Back then too.
I mean, we look back at it now, and now we're actually offended by it. But back then, as a kid, society thought that was normal.
Yeah.
That's what societal norms do to you.
And that's right. And that's why we will eventually do a civil rights episode where we're going to kind of compare and contrast different generations and what is normal, what was normal for our parents, what's normal for us, and what is normal for our children.
Right.
We'll go into that. I don't want to go into that rabbit hole today. And I know we keep going back to that because we did the addendum earlier, but there is so much stuff in Looney Tunes that, I mean, not even being adult humor, there's just so much stuff in Looney Tunes you cannot do today. Like just the gunfire, and you can't have Bugs and you can't have blackface.
Right. But you can't have Wile E. Coyote basically committing suicide every other episode trying to catch there.
Right. Interesting story about that is, in the animal kingdom, a coyote is actually faster than a roadrunner.
I believe it.
so it doesn't make any sense that he needs a rocket ship strapped to his back on roller skates to catch up to something that he's naturally faster than.
Right.
It has more stamina and endurance than a little bird. And it's just a damn bird, dude. Come on. Go get yourself a lizard. Go get yourself something else. There's something that there's a little more meat to it. I mean, he tastes like chicken.
Yeah. And we're not just going to be talking about cartoons from when we were kids, because the modern cartoons are just as bad.
Oh, yeah.
If not worse in ways.
Well, one that, Well, I will probably go down Disney as a whole in a little bit, but that's a. I mean, we talk about Looney Tunes in a light. They're. I don't want to bash Warner Brothers for what they were at the time because what they did was socially acceptable at the time. But Disney has been doing this basically since Steamboat Willie.
Right.
And if there's a all out king of adult humor in child stuff, it's got to be Disney because they're still doing it.
Right. Oh yeah, definitely. While we're on Warner Brothers, so I think we kind of like keep it all together because we could also, since we're talking about Warner Brothers, talk about the Animaniacs.
Oh,
I mean, basically, you look at their theme, so it talks about Wacko, Jacko, and Dot putting baloney in their pants.
Yes.
Where they had an Agatha Christie inspired episode, and it had this. All three of them were on hunt for clues. Wacko tells Dot they need Prince. She comes up with the musician Prince.
Right.
He says, "No, we need fingerprints." Dot shakes her head and says, "I don't think so," and throws Prince out a porthole. So basically, they're talking about she's going to finger Prince.
Yes.
There was, and that was, I want to say, that was, Animaniacs came out, what, 90s?
Yeah, late, no, it was by early 90s.
Yep. Because I know my kids watched them at the tail end of them before they canceled them. And my oldest was born in 98, so I know they had them around then, or they were just in, syndication or whatever. But, they did some twisted shit on that show.
They got away with a lot. There was, there's that one which a lot of people point to the fingering of Prince, but there was so many jokes about penis size.
Oh yeah.
Anytime somebody said, "Well, they're small," or "It's tiny," or they would always look. There was always this off look.
Yep. And they were like the kings of doing those facial expressions, which a lot of the kids wouldn't understand, but the adults watching it would.
Right.
And I gotta admit, I've always been a fan of Animaniacs. I love this show.
It gave birth to one of my favorite duos in Pinky and the Brain.
What are we going to do today, Brian?
Same as we do every day, Pinky. Going to take over the world. Okay, so there's a great fan theory about Pinky and the Brain.
Okay.
Because the theme song is one is a genius, the other is insane. It doesn't clearly state which is which.
Right.
So the thing is, Brain is actually the one that's the insane, and
right.
Pinky is the genius because in every episode, Pinky does the one and only thing that can destroy the entire plot every single time.
Right.
So Pinky is actually the genius in it all because he foils the plot just to keep everything normal.
Right. Oh. Some of these I don't know what company that they're from. I've got notes on like the Powerpuff Girls.
Yeah. There's the one Powerpuff Girl one where they meet the little the Powerpuff Girls bring a little friend over.
Robin.
They're talking to they're talking to the professor, and they tell him the professor made us in a laboratory, or you accidentally made us in a laboratory. And then he looks at the little girl and she goes, "It's okay, professor. I was an accident too."
Yep. That was one I had in my notes too. Her name was Robin.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Look at the names of the Powerpuff Girls too. Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup.
Yes.
They might as well be porn names.
Yeah. Next on the main stage, it's Blossom.
Right. Followed by Bubbles and Buttercup.
Buttercup.
But all of these cartoons have, you look at the Rugrats where you got Grandpa's watching the kids, so he goes out and rents some movies. So he rents all these movies for the kids, and then he tells the kids, Grandpa got a movie for himself because he gets, lonely, and this is for after you guys go to bed. this is Lonely Space Vixens. And, it shows it has this buxom, space vixen on it. And, him hinting that he's going to watch after they go to bed, you kind of know what kind of movie it is.
Yeah, you know what Grandpa's going to be doing, and you better make sure he's got plenty of Kleenex to clean up after himself.
Right.
Well, that's like there's an episode in Looney Tunes where Donald and Bugs are sitting in a movie theater and they're waiting for the thing to start, and Donald pulls out, or not Donald, Daffy. Daffy pulls out a magazine, and it's Play Duck.
Oh yeah.
He's straight up looking at porn. I'm sure he's just reading the articles, but It's in a movie theater.
Oh, I mean, doing this research, I had so many flashbacks from my childhood.
It's funny because I was going back looking at things like one of my favorite I don't want to say favorite, a cartoon that I really loved when I was a kid was The Rescuers.
Yeah.
Now, I don't really want to fly into Disney already, but one that I didn't know about, but researching it, there's a scene in there where they're in the sardine can on the back of the albatross, and they go by this window, and in the freeze frame, there's a naked woman, like a real woman, not hand drawn, but they put in an actual photo of a woman with breasts out, and that made the final cut of the movie. It's only one frame, but
oh wow,
there's like actual tits, and they were nice.
Yeah. All right, let's save Disney for last.
Okay. I keep coming back to it because there's so much.
Oh, I know.
I'll put the image of the Rescuers thing on our website so everybody can see. And,
another thing I kind of want to touch on, it's not just cartoons, but live action ones like, okay, that's Disney. I'm not going to that yet. But like Muppets Treasure Island.
Oh yeah.
Miss Piggy was a slut. Was a straight up whore in that movie. I mean, she when Kermit comes back from sea, she tells him what she's been doing, and it all entails, spending time with other men. It doesn't specify the activities. Then they meet Long John Silver, and Piggy emphasizes the word long, and Kermit looks at her and goes, "Him too."
Well, she's not in a kitchen.
No,
so she's not cooking.
Right.
And the way she's dressed in Treasure Island.
Right.
It just goes to show that yeah. Piggy's a whore.
Mm-hmm.
Piggy's
well, is she a whore, or is she in today's society seen as a strong, independent woman?
She's a strong, independent woman. She's a career-oriented woman.
Yes. Because, I mean, she kicks ass, too. How many people did she beat up through all those movies?
A lot.
With her piggy chop?
Yeah.
So, I mean,
pork chop.
Maybe she's not so much a whore so much as a strong, independent woman, because,
yeah,
comfortable with her sexuality.
Yes.
Okay, that's Disney. Going through my notes.
Well, there's a lot of so it's more of a preteen thing, but there was some of those preteen shows that were on Nickelodeon for a while.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember the name of the one, but I remember we were watching. My kids were watching one of those Nickelodeon shows. I don't remember if it was like Hey Carly or one of those. iCarly. But it was a commercial for one of those where it was like an episode that's going to come on after the show that was on. But it was all about the dad finding a condom in the kids in the kids thing. I'm like, wait, huh? It wasn't iCarly. No, it was a commercial during iCarly for a show that was coming on a little bit later on that same day. So stay tuned for. But I just thought it was like, wow, they're not even blurring.
Right.
They're just straight up going straight to this kid is trying to bone his girlfriend, and he looks like he's 12.
Right.
And I know that that's not necessarily the hidden stuff, but it's like it goes to they have to get a lot more subtle today to
Hmm.
hide stuff because it's so out in the open.
Right. Oh
And
yeah, definitely. Well, there's. I mean, you go. Cartoon Network had, quite a few that had some kind of sketchy stuff, like Dexter's Lab.
oh yeah,
You know, there's one where Dexter fires Dee Dee and hires an attractive, buxom blonde, and
I
then
have that one in my notes too.
yep, then after she was leaving, he'd have to go take a cold shower. Then he asks her to dance for him, and she replies, "Okay, but it's $50 extra."
It's $50 extra. Then there's the other Dexter's laboratory where the mom bends over and her butt says "Dad's trophy."
Oh, I didn't see that one, but I'm not surprised.
Yeah, so Cartoon Network got away with a lot before, and stuff that, I mean, you can't really count everything that's on Adult Swim because, I mean, that's adult cartoons and adult shows. But the pre-Adult Swim stuff is there's a lot of great stuff like the Dexter's Laboratory obviously had a bunch of them.
Rocco's Modern Life.
Yeah.
I mean, where they have the cow hooked up to a milking machine and they're zooming in on the cow's face, and it's basically, his eyes are rolling back and it's showing its O face, and then eventually it just moans and falls over. I mean, that doesn't have sexual undertones in it at all.
Not at all. No.
I mean, even like SpongeBob SquarePants. You got SpongeBob watching TV with a dancing sea anemone, and he gets interrupted by his little snail Gary, and he quickly turns the channel like he's watching porn.
uh, then there's he's with a snail, and he's got 2 bars of soap, and he's like, "Don't drop them."
Yep, I remember that one. But there's so much twisted shit, and looking back and going, these writers, I'm like, I know you need laughs, but are the kids? Do they even know what they're laughing at? And if they do, doesn't that trouble you?
And do you really need that to keep the parents' attention long enough to keep interested in the show?
Right.
That's really how I got. I never really watched SpongeBob, and then after, I don't know, probably season 6 or 7, the kids in my house were watching, and I sat down, and it was one where I still remember this today. SpongeBob looks at Patrick and says, "Patrick, your genius is showing." And Patrick covers up his crotch really quick, and he goes, "Where?" I went, "Wait a minute."
Yeah.
I'm looking around the room going, "Okay, I'm the only one that caught that. That's kind of funny."
Yep. Well, I mean, they even had like the animated superhero ones, like they had the Spectacular Spider-Man where after being shot at with webs, the black cat says, "Oh, you better not get your goop in my hair."
Oh.
Or like, and back in 1998, they had the new Batman Adventures, and you got Harley Quinn coming out of a pie. She does a Marilyn Monroe impression while she's got pie filling dripping off her, and then she kicks a cherry at the Joker's face.
Oh.
No connotations there at all.
None whatsoever. He might as well throw a hot dog back at her.
Right. But I mean, I don't think that you could watch a cartoon in any time period and not find adult humor mixed into it.
No, you can't, because and I know old animators back, when Looney Tunes were first getting going, and Disney was first starting to do like feature length animation. The animators were overworked and underpaid, so
Right.
they did whatever they could to kind of like make their stamp on the movie. They would draw a penis in the background. They would throw in one frame of a dirty word, and that's kind of where, I can't say that's where it got its roots, but when you do the going back and researching a lot of this stuff, a lot of it really started with just the animators being bored and not being paid enough, and you
Right.
know.
It's like they're trying to figure out, how can we slip a dick joke in here, make it funny, but not have it be blatant.
Yes.
You know, because especially the Disney writers, they're all on dick jokes.
Oh, yeah. Pitching tents to there's
Yeah.
being drawn into their movie posters.
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. Text from one of my students real quick.
Right on. But oops.
So, well, we got Hanna-Barbera with the Flintstones.
All right. The Flintstones were just, were they swingers or not?
I think so.
Okay.
I think they were sharing.
I do too. There's
If
nothing.
not swinging, Fred was sharing Wilma with Barney.
Yeah. Yes.
Betty was a little bit too uptight for it.
She was the motherly hen next door. She was the Mary Ann of the group.
Yep.
But when Barney would come over to drink beer after a lodge meeting with Fred,
yep,
I think some stuff went down.
Yeah, they would double team.
Tell me that they don't have appliances, that living appliances around there that they didn't throw into the mix too.
Oh yeah, definitely.
You know, Barney or Wilma out there doing her chores with the washing machine that's fucking shaking like crazy, and she's leaning up against it. It's like, come on, man, really?
Right. Or here's one that kind of jumped out at me, but Barney and Fred are talking, and Barney's like, Fred, I want a costume to make myself look taller. And Fred's like, well, you need another head to look taller. And Barney looks at him and goes, another one? What do I need 3 of them for?
There you go.
I mean, that says it all right there.
Yeah.
I mean, but there were so many Hanna-Barbera ones. I mean, if you look at Scooby-Doo, I mean, straight up know that Scooby and Shaggy are smoking dope all the freaking time.
And they went as far as when the movie finally came out.
Yeah.
The cop knocks on the van. They're parked on the beach. Smoke is just billowing out of the thing, and they open it up, and they both are glass-eyed, but they play it off that they're cooking sausages.
Right.
There's a reason that you would cook sausages in an enclosed van with a little propane burner. Is because you're fucking high as hell. Right. Otherwise, you realize that, you know what, maybe we should open up the door and not smoke ourselves out of this motherfucker, unless we're trying to hotbox and still eat at the same time.
Right. Because you got the munchies.
Definitely.
That's how they were able to put so much food away, because they were skinny as hell.
In the sexual dynamic of that.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't think Fred was interested in Daphne at all.
Nope.
He just wanted to be the leader of the group, and Fred was a straight up narcissist that was in love with Fred.
Right.
Daphne was in love with Fred.
Right.
Fred was in love with Fred.
Right.
Velma was in love with Daphne.
Yep.
Shaggy was in love with Pot. And Scooby was trying to get a piece of all of them.
Right. Well, I actually think that Fred had a little bit of attraction to Shaggy too.
Yeah. I think he was in love with a lot of the sheriffs.
Yep.
Came into play.
Speaking of which, funny story. I did just watch a Scooby-Doo today that was like an hour and 20 minutes long, and it had the WWE stars in it.
Oh, nice.
And like Fred basically fell in love with the mechanic and wanted to be a mechanic. He's like, I'm a gearhead now.
Really?
Yeah.
See, now it's funny that you say that because the newer ones were way more adult humor or blunt about the adult humor that was in it than the older ones with the Globetrotters and Kiss
Mm-hmm.
and all of them. And that was they're pretty covert back then. But we were watching one, this newer one that they have where like everybody's got different hairstyles now, so it was kind of confusing. They still wore the same colors, but I was a little confused. They were straight up just basically like Fred was or Daphne and Fred were kind of an item, but not an item, and they were kind of seeing each other at the same time, but not seeing each other. It was like there's this whole relationship aspect of it that was rather confusing
Yeah.
because I mean, it wasn't confusing. It was just it was interesting to see because they spent more time on their personal sides, which you didn't want to see that as a kid. You wanted it. I mean, we wanted all we waited for was that line at the end. I would have got away with it if it weren't for you meddling kids.
Right.
But the what they were doing with now with this newer one where Fred's parents are in the mix and they're kind of like mystical warlocks or some shit like that, and they're really the evil ones, and Fred's trying to take down his parents, but he's also trying to date people while Velma's dating people and Daphne's dating people, and it was just too much relationship shit that was going on. And it was more like a teen melodrama than it was let's just get the the Hulk monster out of the
Right.
forest.
Oh, this year on Supernatural, they actually had a Scooby-Doo crossover where it was an animated show with the guys from Supernatural in Scooby-Doo. And I don't know if you're a fan of the show or know the show, but you basically have Dean and Sam Winchester. They hunt monsters.
Right.
So, they're in it, and Dean is basically spends the entire episode trying to bone Daphne. And all of a sudden he starts wearing an ascot and shit like that because he's trying to be like Fred because Fred was his idol, but he wanted to bone Daphne. And basically, Velma came off as a little nympho.
I could see that.
Yep.
Yeah. That was one thing about the movies about is it wrong that I thought that Velma was hotter than Daphne in the two Scooby-Doo movies?
Oh, I thought she was.
Linda Cardellini was a hell of a lot better, more attractive than Sarah Michelle Gellar.
I thought so too.
So they can downplay it. They could kind of make her ugly, but it didn't work.
Because you couldn't hide that rack.
No.
Just could not. Sorry, ladies, but it is what it is. All right. So, from Hanna-Barbera to Pixar. You can go ahead and start with one.
All right. So, probably the most obvious one that everybody knows about Pixar is in adult humor is the Toy Story series. Mm-hmm. There's the thing where now Buzz meets Jesse for the first time, and bang, his wings pop out.
Yep.
So that's probably the first one everybody knows. But one that I always liked is going back to the first movie in Sid's room with his like messed up, fucked up toys.
Right.
One is the Barbie doll legs with a fish rod with a little hook on the end of it. He made himself a hooker.
Right. Yep. I had that in my notes too. Well, also in the first one, when Bo Peep always is constantly trying to seduce Woody.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now, have you seen my wool?
Right. I mean, all the Toy Story movies had that stuff in it. I mean, if you go to Toy Story 3, you got, Barbie meets up with Ken and she's staring at him and she says, "Nice ascot," and all of a sudden she's just blushing red.
Yeah.
Then in the end, doesn't she run off with G.I. Joe because he's like more anatomically correct?
Exactly. She does.
So, I mean, then there's another one. Let me find it in my notes. It has to do with Mr. Potato Head.
Well, he had
Uh,
the dirty mouth.
huh?
He had the dirty mouth, and his wife slapped him, and his eyes came out. There was that scene.
Well, there's also, I mean, what you remember? There was that big purplish monkey bear or whatever it was,
Uh-huh.
Lotso. And Lotso takes off Mr. Potato Head's or Mrs. Potato Head's lips, and Mr. Potato Head's like, "Hey, no one takes my wife's mouth, but me." You know, so I mean, basically talking about marital blowjobs and stuff.
Yeah.
But, yeah, there's a lot of twisted shit in that stuff.
And God bless Pixar, man. Because there was a lot of there's a bunch of different jokes within the Cars series.
Oh yeah, some of the references I had to look up because I didn't know what they meant.
Like what?
Lemon Party.
Please explain to our audience what a lemon party is.
Okay, in Cars 2, you had all these beat up old cars having a party with lemons as the centerpiece. They called it a lemon party. Well, after researching it, I found out, and I don't recommend anybody Google this. Do not Google this. You're not going to like what you see. But it's basically an all men, gay sex orgy.
Oh.
That is a lemon party. So, I mean, if you're into that sort of thing, by all means, Google it. But
it's not a fun little thing with cars that are got a lot of problems.
no, I mean, it's not a reference to that. It was a reference to straight up, because it's a party. It was an orgy. They were all getting it on behind the cameras.
Wow.
But I mean, yeah, I mean, then you go back to, which version of Cars was it? But you basically have searching through my notes. In the first Cars, Lightning McQueen finishes the race, and at the end of the race, he finished first, so he's got groupies there flashing their headlights at him.
Right.
And then, he drives out into the country, and there's this truck stop, and its truck stop's called Top Down. And the sign says convertible waitresses.
The convertible waitresses, I remember that. Yeah, like, I wonder what's going on there.
Right. I mean, all these, weird things going on. Oh, man.
But Pixar was really, they've been getting away with these type of jokes for forever. I mean, and they're still getting away with it. Just a couple years back when Inside Out came out,
right?
That the little girl's scared and she's like, "Was that a bear?" And then there's the little green one. I forgot what her name was. There's no bears in San Francisco, making reference to hairy gay men.
Right. Yeah, because the other one said, "I saw a big hairy guy." Yep, I had that too. Well, I think I have some more Pixar in here somewhere. Hold on. Oh no, man.
There's several of them in Frozen too.
Oh yeah.
Where he talks about foot size, and she says foot size doesn't matter.
Yeah. The entire dialogue goes, "But Hans is not a stranger." Oh yeah. What's his last name? Of the Southern Isles. Foot size? Foot size doesn't matter. Oh yeah. That was Disney, though. Frozen was Disney.
Oh, you're right. It was. You're right. I was jumping ahead.
What was Wreck-It Ralph? Was that Disney?
I don't remember. But go ahead if you got one with it.
Oh, God, yes. Wreck-It Ralph had a mean streak to him when it came to Pac-Man. He basically calls Pac-Man a pussy hound. There's dialogue. He's like, "Pac-Man, they invited Pac-Man. That cherry chasing dot muncher isn't even part of this game."
Cherry chasing dot muncher.
Yep. And again, something I had to research or look up because I got dot muncher. Okay, I figured that one out. But the cherry chaser is actually an adult male chasing a young girl's virginity.
Oh,
I did not know that. I had to look it up.
That is hilarious that they got away with that.
Oh yeah, I mean, there's just, and I mean they have it in. Oh, that's just,
And that's the thing. I mean, there's unless you're sitting around, unless the ratings people and the censorship people are sitting around with Urban Dictionary, they're not gonna go and look up Cherry Chaser when you're referring to Pac-Man, because
right.
you're gonna think, oh well, Pac-Man just, oh, they're talking about him, it's a little fruit that's going around, so it's great that they can throw out, especially like the lemon party. I think myself is pretty astute when it comes to a lot of these things, but I did not know that. But
No,
that's great that they would go out of their way. It's like, huh? I try to think about their thought process. It's like, okay, what's something that's related to a car that we can find an innuendo that we can throw into this mix? Do they just go to Urban Dictionary and they go, okay, what's a term that's related to car? Lemons. Lemon. There's the lemon law. There's bad cars that break down real quick after you buy them. There's a lemon. Shitty car that just bought lemon. Lemon party. There's a whole group of these old shitty cars together. We're gonna call it a lemon party. And
right,
you know what? Well, nobody will be none the wiser until
right.
today.
I believe all the cars at the party were male cars.
Well,
So,
I didn't turn them over and look to check every one of them, but you're probably right.
you got anything on Monsters Inc?
I know there is some. There's a bunch of them because Mike Wazowski had. Oh shit! No, I don't. I don't have it. I don't have the quote in front of me. But he says there. I know there's a Mike was a little sexual fiend that wanted that girl so bad.
Oh yeah. Well, I don't know if this is truly in the movie or not. When I was doing my research, it came up, and I don't know if it was Photoshop or created afterwards. So this might not be, true. But when Sully comes into one of the kids' rooms, to scare him, there's a picture hanging on the wall. It's a stick figure man and a stick figure woman. Well, the woman went over in front of the man, and she had boobs, a stick figure with boobs, and basically it looks like he was doing her doggy style. And, by the man, the little kid had wrote Uncle Roger, and by the woman, the little kid wrote Mom. So, I mean, it's kind of like an incestuous sex joke.
Oh, nice.
And I don't know if this is true. Like I said, I don't remember that from the movie. Something that came up while I was researching it, and I don't know how factual it is. So, if somebody created that, that was funny. Twisted, but funny.
Yeah. No, I was going back trying to see if I could find that image. But there's one that I thought was kind of interesting here. There's one Randall's talking to Mike Sully, and he says, "I heard humans skin monsters and make them toilet seat covers out of their fur." Sully says, "That's nonsense." But when you skip forward to Toy Story 3, you look at their toilet seat cover, and it's the same pattern as Sully.
Oh, God.
That's pretty twisted.
Yeah, it is.
It's also pretty twisted that there's people out there that spend time to find these little.
Oh, yeah. That's just it, though. I mean, I see some of the stuff when I'm watching it, but I forget it so quickly. But people, I mean, they sit there and search. I mean, like, people search Marvel movies for Easter eggs, referring to other things and stuff like that. I just watched the movie.
Yeah, and I read a lot of, there's a bunch of YouTube videos out there, YouTube channels, where these people will dissect every single aspect of the latest Marvel movie and then put it in context towards a certain a comic series.
Okay.
And they go through and they'll like, well, so, and then they try to figure out where the whole MCU is going to from there. And don't you have a job? It's cool that you're putting all this together for my entertainment because I do have a job, so I can't sit around and do this shit myself, which I'm thankful that these people put this together. But I have to stop, and it's generally when my wife is staring at me like, "Are you seriously watching that shit again?" I'm like, "Well,
Right.
I only watched it. I only caught half of it because you talked through the second half. I watched the first half again to get caught up to the second half. Now you're talking about the second half again. Then I got to watch it again for a third time. Then you can bitch at me about that. But anyway, it's great that these people will actually sit down and like I pretty much have a good understanding what Avengers 4 is going to end up like
Right.
watching these things, which is kind of a huge spoiler and a letdown in a way, but it's fun to go back and go, hey, that nerd was right, man. That guy was pretty on it.
Right. Well, I think is there anything we missed from Pixar?
No, I'm just going through like some of the Monsters Inc. jokes there on here. This little website from Ranker, and they have like the abominable snowman had the pee snow cones.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
The snow cones.
Was Zootopia Pixar?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here's one then I got from Zootopia. You've got Nick the Fox, and he's adding up these tickets. Or no, the girl, the female rabbit who's like the traffic cop.
Right.
You know, she's got Nick the Fox's vehicle or whatever, and she's adding up all of his traffic tickets, and he's like questioning her about it. She basically looks at him and says, "I might just be a dumb bunny, sorry, but we were good at multiplying." And then the camera goes to Nick the Fox's face, and his jaw just kind of drops. So that means
we're good at multiplying.
Not only do you have sexual innuendo, but you also have cross-species innuendo.
Yes. I don't think either. I don't think Gregor Mendel had that in there when he was doing genetics, and I don't think Darwin thought about that when he was talking about heredity. So
I don't believe so. No. So did you find any more of the Monsters Inc. stuff?
No, not really. There wasn't anything that was. There was
Right.
like his boss was drinking poop apparently. But he goes up when him and Sullivan go up to the thing, you know, the big bug-eyed monster in the first one. He goes to this vending machine and he looks like he's going to a coffee machine, but what comes out apparently was poop, not coffee.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, then I guess we should probably jump into Disney. And Disney, mind you, is what most people, even our parents, you know, all of our childhoods are based off Disney.
Yes.
I mean, Disney owns probably a third of the world at this point.
What Disney doesn't own, Verizon and AT&T do.
Right. So, I mean, we could start out with, you know, let's go with Beauty and the Beast. Here we have a perfect example of the Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
Beast takes this woman captive, you know, and just will not let her leave until she eventually falls in love with him, you know, and it's pretty much the definition of Stockholm Syndrome.
Right.
You know, there's some of his like, you know, you had these little animated objects. You had Babette, the French feather duster, who was all provocative, and the way people treated her really kind of crossed the line.
Kinda. Well, and then Mrs. Potts had she had the little teacup son that had the little bit of the crack in it.
Right.
So essentially, you know, either was she abusing the child? I don't know. I wasn't there.
Or was she allowing it to happen?
Right. Is she turning a blind eye? Well, Mr. Potts, who we don't see,
right,
was actually doing. And let's go back to Belle for a minute.
All right.
Everybody in town knew that this chick had some kind of mental defect. I mean, she was there's an actual not psychosis, but there's an actual affliction that she was diagnosed with that I read. I don't seem to see it in my notes here, but anyway, Belle had issues, and basically they allowed. I think she's autistic, really, because they let her do her thing and read books and leave her alone before she like burns the damn village down.
Right.
Now she takes off. She's trapped in some castle. But was she really trapped in a castle, or did all this shit happen in her mind?
Yeah. I'm going to. I'm looking up her mental illness, so keep talking.
Okay. But going back to the Stockholm thing, there's a certain point where I'm not really sure who's actually the captor and who's the captive, because she kind of flips the script, and now he can't get away. He's got to change everything about his life to suit her, even though she's got to try to get him to kiss her so before the rose does, and then I forgot the whole rest of the story, but there's some trippy shit that goes on with Belle here.
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure. I don't know who the victim is, and I don't know if it all happens in her head or not.
Right. Well, when I looked her up, the one I got was Stockholm syndrome.
Okay.
Let's see if it's on a different what. Let's see what correct.com has to say about her. Oh, apparently Sherlock Holmes had Asperger's.
Yes, I have read that one.
Come on.
I know, like Ariel was OCD.
Yeah, and dysphobia, or whatever the hell that is. Basically, it's her desire to be human.
We'll go into Little Mermaid in a minute.
All right.
After we finish up with this one.
Oh, she had schizoid personality disorder.
That's it. Because yes, she was not there at all.
Right.
Because at the beginning, she's walking around town, singing to cakes, reading her book. You know, they just left her alone because she knew she was fucking crazy.
Right. Well, and basically, the movie is based off woman becomes captive, falls in love with captor, while guy who's trying to rescue her really just wants to own her.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I forgot about Gaston.
Yeah, and didn't in the later versions, didn't he turn out to be gay or something like that?
One of the characters in the live action was gay, and that apparently pissed a lot of people off.
Why?
I don't know, because probably secretly they're gay, and they hate themselves for it, just like John Wayne Gacy did.
Right. That always just blows my mind. I'm like, does it affect your life? How?
No. You know what? If you want to suck a dick, suck a dick. But you know what? Just don't do it on the bus when I'm next to you.
Right.
Not that I ride the bus, but if I did, I don't want to watch that.
Right.
And especially next time, don't ask me for a tip for watching.
Well, it's like a train wreck. You can't turn away from it.
You can't. It's what else you gonna do on the bus?
Right. It's like, if an 80-year-old woman flashes her boobs at you, you're gonna look, because if you've seen one pair of tits, you want to see them all.
Yeah, because then you can always go. Well, you can do like a mental rewind, and go, okay, they're down by her belly button, and when they were up here, they looked a lot better.
Right. Not that it's attractive or anything, but you can't. It's like horror movies. You can't turn away from it.
Right. Right.
Anyways, back on Mermaid.
Let's go. Mermaid.
So, Little Mermaid, a story about was she 14 or 16? I believe she was 14. I have it in my notes somewhere. Anyways, a 14-year-old girl who's trying to get married off to a human, so more cross-species interaction here.
Yes.
And not only that, but pretty much pedophilia.
Yeah. He may be a prince, but he's going on a list.
Yeah, because he was older.
Yes.
Definitely. He was over legal age. He was over 18.
Well, and when he started talking to her, she's like, "What is this? It's a comb. Oh, she's special needs. I'm gonna go after this one."
Right.
She's young, she's special needs, and she's OCD. And that whatever affliction you talked about, where fish wants to become human.
Right.
And that's the other part too. I mean, there's so many people that have this fantasy. It's like, oh man, a mermaid, like the movie Splash, or The Color of Water, or it's like, what? It's
Yeah.
a fish.
Right.
It's a fish. She's still a fish. I mean, yes. So she's got a shell bra. Big deal. She's still
Right.
a fish. Kind of, who's a comedian? Eliza Schlesinger has this whole bit about, she goes off on women who want to be a mermaid, and she talks about like how horrible their hair would be after being years in salt water and stuff. And she gets one solid brick. It's a pretty funny bit. You should look it up if you haven't seen her bit about not being a mermaid. But
not only that, but I mean, like, yeah, we know where her boobs are, but where's the rest of her genitalia?
right.
Where are you putting it in?
Down by her feet.
Yeah, I realized
feet.
I realized she got legs at one point during this, so therefore she probably had, a vagina then. But who you want to have sex with a mermaid? Where are you gonna put it?
Right. It's a lot of hand and mouth action, I guess.
Yeah. I don't get it. I mean, yeah.
But going back to the actual cartoon there's the one scene that they've gone back and corrected. It's when she's getting married to the prince, and the priest who's presiding over it has got a raging boner.
Oh yes.
They said it's his knee.
Right.
But it's way too high to be a knee.
Right. Well, let's also talk about the granted this is on the old VHS tapes, but the cover of the tape when you have the castle.
The castle.
They're penises.
Yes.
Because again, Disney loves dick jokes.
Yes.
And they're obsessed with dicks.
And the funny thing about that too is that was everywhere around America.
Yeah.
Walmart's had that, Target's had it, Kmart's had it. Everybody had that on their shelves.
Right.
And which is funny because you walk through. It was Walmart. I was in a Walmart a little while ago, walking by, and there's this movie that came out a little while ago called Cock Blockers. They don't write cock blockers on the thing. It's a big rooster and then the word blockers. It's got like John Cena and a few others in it.
Right.
But when you see the copy of that at Walmart, it just says blockers.
Okay.
Now, the reason that even caught my eye when I was there, I was on a plane on it was Delta Airlines, and they have like an on-demand thing in the seat in front of you. And one of the movies that you could watch was Cock Blockers, and it had the rooster and it said blockers on it. It had the whole thing. This is on an airplane. Now, I've always been so careful about what I watched on my tablet or anything while I'm on a plane, making sure that it was not going to be offensive to anybody around me. So, I guess Disney movies it was. But they had it on the plane, and I can walk through a Walmart and they won't have the little rooster on the same photo.
Right.
But back then, they had dicks all over the latest Disney. They had posters and movies and books and everything, T-shirts and everything had that as fucking cocks all over it.
Right. That thing was.
This is the same fucking place that Anthrax had the band Anthrax had an EP, Attack of the Killer Bees, and they had a couple of that's where they had their version of Bring the Noise, their cover that they did with God, I feel stupid now. Chuck D and Fear of a Black Planet. Why am I
Run DMC?
No, Public Enemy.
Public Enemy. Okay. Yeah.
They did Bring the Noise by Public Enemy. We'll edit that part out. Me losing my train of thought. But my friend had bought that same EP there, and every time they had a swear word in it, they put a buzzing sound of a bee over all the swear words on it.
For fuck's sake.
It was so intolerable to listen to because it was just buzzing. You'd listen to a little bit and it'd buzz, and then it'd buzz, and then it'd buzz, and then it'd buzz, and it would buzz. And it's like, after a while, we just sit around and drank and got high and listened to it because it was so comical.
Right.
They wouldn't sell they chose to sell this hacked up version of this little EP as opposed to not selling it because it was against their little standards.
Right. Well,
But
like,
this is right around the same time that Little Mermaid came out.
Right.
So
Cocks a play.
Yeah, cocks all over.
Oh, well, you know, a little rabbit hole here. One of my favorite songs by Anthrax is Evil Nick Confessin'.
Yes.
I actually named
it
backwards.
backwards.
I was in a video game. I named my character that, and he's like, "What's that mean?" I'm like, "Read it backwards." But anyways, okay. Let's touch on our boy Hercules.
Oh, okay.
So in Hercules.
Yeah. Sorry, that was.
No, I get it.
Murphy.
There are many references to the Oedipus complex or Oedipus complex throughout Hercules. They actually journeyed to Thebes, where Oedipus is from. They brought up the play to Meg, and that she's like, that play, the Oedipus thing, man, I thought I had problems. But there's many references throughout the movie to that. I mean, so, and then kind of the look Hercules gave to, what's her name? I can't think of it. Zeus's wife. Hera? Is that it?
Sure.
He's kind of giving her the eye when he gets up to Olympus. So.
Oh. Nice.
So I mean, he had a little Oedipus, even though I don't believe he is Hera's daughter. Zeus mated with a human to get her.
Right. Well, I was scrolling through my notes. There was one. That's Hades with the flaming hair, right?
Yeah, played by James Woods.
Yeah, I'm trying to find it in my notes here. There's one joke that he had about. Shit, I can't remember what it was now. There's a joke in there about him, and it was funny.
When his hair blew out or something like that.
It was what the hell was it? Now it's gonna drive me nuts.
Right. I don't know. I'll look it up real quick. I'll Google it. Google, not just a noun; it's also a verb.
But anyway, there's. Oh shit. Okay, we'll have to edit that out because we're going really slow here. But right. Anyway, yeah, I'm sure there's some other funny jokes in that one.
Right. Blah 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 blah. I'm not finding anything.
Maybe it wasn't.
Oh well.
Yeah. Anyway, moving on.
Yeah, let's move on. So.
One I want to touch on.
Yep.
Really quick, and this is probably the most disturbing. Oh, never mind. I was thinking something else's. It was from Hercules. Yeah, that's what we were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
It's where Narcissus. I haven't seen this much love in a room since Narcissus discovered himself. That's what it was.
Oh, okay.
Okay, we'll edit that chunk before that out.
Yep.
Anyway, I have to talk about Finding Nemo.
Okay.
Because the thing that I need to do is talk about the true nature of clownfish.
All right.
So what happens in a clownfish colony was when the dominant female dies, the dominant male spontaneously changes sex, becomes the dominant female, then the beta male now becomes the alpha male, and then they become the mating pair. So in Finding Nemo, Nemo's mom dies.
Right.
Nemo goes missing. Mm-hmm. Marlin has to travel the ocean to find his son and bring him back. But in reality, Marlin would switch to Marla and become the female. Nemo would now become the dominant male, and they would become a mating pair.
Oh, wow.
Finding Nemo becomes a little bit different when you know what Marlin's intention would be, because he's now a female and he needs to mate with the dominant male, which in this case would now be Nemo,
His son.
his son. So he's traversing the ocean, meeting all sorts of sea creatures and sea turtles, just so he could fuck his son.
Right.
And that's nature.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Well,
It's nature over nurture in that moment.
right. Let's get on to the live action version of 101 Dalmatians.
Yes.
So you got this puppy napper played by House, the MD,
Yes.
and his cohort, and they're in there, and they're in this room, and there's all these taxidermy animals, and the one goes, "Man, all these dead stuffed animals are giving me a shrinky winky." Why does that need to be brought up?
It doesn't. It doesn't. But I will say that I feel better knowing that it shrinks instead of grows in that situation.
Yes.
Because if it was really exciting him, then that may be a little bit creepier.
Right. Well, then you also have, you got the married couple talking to Cruella. They're telling them about everything. You're like, oh, hey, my wife here, she's pregnant. We're gonna have a baby. And Cruella's just kind of looking at him like, yeah, so what? And then she's like, and they're like, oh, we're gonna have puppies too. And then she looks at him and goes, well, you've been a busy boy, haven't you?
Well, yeah, because when they tell her that the wife is pregnant, that she says, well, accidents happen.
Yep.
And then we're having puppies too. It's like, oh, well, you've been busy.
Yep.
I didn't fuck the dog.
Right. But according to her, you did.
Well, wait, don't tell my wife that I fucked the dog.
Right. Well, they did have some weird relationships with those animals.
Yes.
Well, I mean, let's also look at Up. Okay, right there, the title.
Yes.
Then you have an old man and a young boy hanging out together and floating through the air.
Yes.
Yeah.
Going to a magical land where nobody will ever bother them.
Right.
Oh, little Boy Scout.
Yeah. It's reminiscent of Family Guy and the old guy down the road and Chris.
Yes. Yeah. Very similar. Very similar, except for this guy's a little more crotchety.
Right. And a bit more subtle.
Yeah. And okay, so there was one thing about Up that I thought was great. Was somebody pointed out it was a meme that went around or something, but it said that Up creates a better love story in the first 8 minutes than Twilight did over 3 movies.
I saw that meme and I totally agree with it. Even though I don't think I watched all 3 movies of Twilight.
No, okay, so I've only seen the first one, and I went to a double feature of it, and it was the first Twilight movie, and then 2012, the John Cusack disaster movie. And all I kept saying was to myself was, at least the world ends in the second movie.
Right.
But I'm sitting there before the first movie comes out. Now, I know very little about Twilight at this point. I knew there was a girl, a vampire, and a werewolf. That's all I knew going in.
Right.
I didn't know their names. I knew it was Cedric from Harry Potter, and I knew it was the older daughter from the movie Zathura. And then it was the boy from Shark Boy and Lava Girl. Yep. That's all I really knew about this movie. So we're sitting in this old theater in downtown Vancouver, and this woman, for some reason, decides that she's going to walk through our aisle, even though the entire other side is open, but she's going to walk past us. And she's feeble, and she's walking past us, and she stops right in front of me. And she looks at me and she goes, "Are you Team Jacob or Team Edward?" And I went, "What the fuck are you talking about?" I had no idea what this woman was talking about. And 30 minutes later, I was like, oh, okay. For some reason, people are taking sides for what this anorexic chick is going to do. Which there was another meme that came out shortly after that one. Was it's a anorexic's choice between necrophilia and bestiality.
Yeah. I don't know. I can't stand the actress. Every time I see her in anything, I just call her the twitchy bitch because that's all she does, sit there and twitch in every role she plays.
Yeah. So there's another meme that came out around the same time. So they had Emma Watson, who was Hermione,
Mm-hmm.
and there was like 16 different photos of her, and underneath every one of them was a different emotion: happy, sad, tranquil, all this shit, right? And it was perfect. Every single image matches.
Right.
Then you go over to they have Kristen Stewart from Twilight, and they had the same exact fucking face with the exact same emotions written underneath it. So it almost looked like a Andy Warhol painting.
Right. I am a firm believer that she wrecks any movie that she's in.
Yeah.
I realize people out there are fans of her. I'm just not. I think she's a horrible actress, and her twitching. Smoke some pot. You'll chill out.
It's something, yes.
I mean, look what pot does for Alzheimer's patients and people with Parkinson's.
Yeah.
You know? It's been scientifically proven to help people with their twitches from Parkinson's to be able to actually function.
And it helps me get through a box of Juji fruits like nothing.
No shit. I love popcorn for me, but hey. Let's get away from that because that's just going to bring up bad memories. I want to talk about, because they're owned by Disney now, I want to talk about the Avengers.
Okay.
Very first one. And you got Loki in a box, and the Black Widow standing out there talking to him. And Loki calls her a mewling quim. So now I had to look this up because I'm not hip on British slang. So I look it up.
You impart some wisdom upon us.
Right. So basically, what a quim is the British slang for genitalia, and mewling is whiny. So basically, Loki's calling her a whiny pussy or a whiny cunt, whatever you want to call it.
It's from England, so we'll say cunt.
Right. Because that's what they would have said.
Yes.
But, in a way that he could get away with it in a movie based for kids.
That is awesome.
I was like, props.
How about same movie later on, Loki and Tony Stark, and Loki tries to take the scepter and tap his heart like he did to Hawkeye to make him his slave.
Right.
And he keeps tapping him, but Tony's got that electromagnetic thing on his chest.
Right.
Tapping it, it's like, this usually works. And he's like, oh, you performance anxieties?
Yeah, well, I mean, come on. How much of that do you think was actually improv by Robert Downey Jr.?
I'm sure a lot of it was. I'm sure between the two of them, that whole scene was improvised.
They're both brilliant actors.
Yes.
They really are. I mean, with all the problems Robert Downey Jr. had in his past, one thing he was always, throughout the whole thing, it was a good actor.
Yes. And, even when he was waking up in his neighbor's house, in their kid's bedroom and all that, didn't realize he was in the neighbor's house.
Right.
It was weird because he was always one of those guys that I don't know him. I don't know him personally. I don't know what he's like off camera.
Right.
But you felt like you know him. You felt like he's a bud.
Yeah.
So he was doing shit like that, and you're like, oh man, come on, man, get back. Let's go get your shit together, man, because I like your movies.
Right.
But then there's other actors and actresses that, fuck up all the time. It's like, Jesus Christ, just go the fuck away.
Right. Right. Yeah, I mean, one of my favorite roles of his was the movie Less Than Zero.
Love that movie.
With him, and it was part of the Brat Pack at the time.
Yeah, Andrew
McCarthy?
McCarthy, yeah. And Jenny Garth.
Was it Jamie Gertz?
Jamie Gertz. Jenny Garth was from 90210.
Right.
Yeah. She may have been as old as them when she was in high school, but
right.
But yeah, that is a great movie, and James Spader being James Spader, and
right,
just being a complete and total asshole.
Right. Then you have like a little bit more of the G-rated version of the same movie, Bright Lights, Big City, with Michael J. Fox.
Yeah. Interesting movie, not as punchy.
No,
It,
not as edgy.
yeah, it was cool to see Michael J. Fox in a role like that.
Yes, he did a good job. It wasn't a
Yeah.
bad.
No, it's not a bad movie at all, but it's when you've already seen Less Than Zero,
Yeah,
and if you haven't seen the movie Less Than Zero, please go out and rent it. It will do yourself a favor. It is a fantastic, fantastic watch. And watch Bright Lights Big City afterwards, and then you'll understand the emotion that the two of us are going through right now.
right.
Because the what I liked about Less Than Zero was the fact that yes, these are bratty, overprivileged children that don't deserve second or third or fourth chances like they're getting.
Right.
But it's just the shit that Robert Downey Jr.'s character goes through.
Yeah.
Just to stay alive.
Right, and they basically they're showing that they're overprivileged and stuff like that, but their actions still have consequences.
Right. You know, they didn't have somebody come out and bail them out at the end. It was finally there. It was like they had done that, and like, no, you're done. You're on your own.
Right. Right.
And then there's one guy, Andrew McCarthy, who's trying to get away from all that shit, and comes back for a weekend and realizes that nobody's changed. Everybody and everything has gotten worse.
Right.
Great movie.
Yeah, it's a very great movie. That was a very deep rabbit hole we just went down.
Yeah, I'll go. I'm going to stay on the Robert Downey Jr. thing for a second, and I think he was the perfect cast for Tony Stark.
Oh yeah, definitely.
If he wasn't Tony Stark, if they would have went with basically anybody else, then this character that nobody gave a shit about, Iron Man, before that movie came out, would have just derailed the entire MCU at the very beginning. But Jon Favreau did a fantastic job directing that movie, and Robert Downey Jr. was the perfect person to front that all the way through this fourth Avengers movie.
Right.
One of the best casting choices of all time, in my opinion.
Honestly, to be completely honest with you, I can't see anybody else being Loki. I can't see anybody else being Iron Man.
No.
Even Chris Evans as Captain America.
Chris Evans as Captain America, yes. Chris Evans when he was Human Torch, not so much. Yeah. Even though it worked at the time, because that's who Chris Evans was, coming off of like Not Another Teen Movie and, some of those the comedic roles that he was in. So it worked then, but that was such a bad set of movies that I'm glad that they got out of that and just, push that shit aside. And like, you know what, we're going to give you another chance because you're a good actor.
Right.
You think you can, you can franchise. We can franchise you. And he actually announced he's going to retire after Avengers 4 from acting altogether.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I did not know that. That's sad because he is a great actor and, he's had a good career.
You ever see The Losers?
I think so, but it's been a really long time.
It's another comic book movie. It's I believe it's DC or it's Dark Horse. I don't remember. It's one of the weird, obscure little comics that nobody ever read.
Dark Horse is a branch of DC.
Yeah. Okay. But he's in that and doesn't play. He plays a computer nerd.
Okay.
And it's with I always get those two confused. The dude from 300, and then the other Gerard Butler, and then the guy that was in The Watchmen. That was the comedian.
Oh, wasn't he also Negan in Walking Dead?
Yes.
Yeah, I don't know his name, but I know who you're talking about.
But he's like the captain of it.
Oh yeah, I have seen that movie. It's a great movie.
Yeah.
And that rabbit hole just got deeper and deeper.
Yeah.
What other Disney stuff you got? Let's get back on topic here.
Okay. All right, where are we at here?
We've touched on. Oh, you know what? Here's one. Aladdin.
Oh, where there's Aladdin, he's getting chased through a whole crowd or through a home with a whole bunch of beautiful women. He's in a brothel. There's a
Right.
reason he's poor and he's in a brothel. There's a reason he's getting chased out of there.
Right. What about his wedding night, where they had basically the orgasm scene with everything exploding in the sky?
Right. Well, and then going to orgasm, there's the thing in the Lion King where
Yep.
Simba and him when he's a little older is wrestling with his old friend, and then she lays back and then presents herself.
Right.
Then there's the movie poster for that one too. That's got the bikini girl on the cover. That Mufasa's face is in the clouds. Simba's on the ground. Mufasa's face in the ground. But if you look at it closely, Mufasa's nose is the butt with a bikini.
Yep.
There, and then the word "sex" is in the stars when right after Simba looks to this clouds or to the sky to talk to his dad to get advice.
Right.
The stars realign to spell the word "sex."
Well, you remember the Disney movie Hocus Pocus?
With Bette Midler and Kathy Najimy and Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yep.
Okay.
Where they're getting ready to get on this bus, and they're talking to the bus driver, and they're like, "We desire children," and the bus driver says, "Hey, it may take me a couple tries, but I don't think that'd be a problem."
Creepy.
What about The Incredibles? Now, I want to touch on something right off the bat. I don't know if you've heard the term POG before.
Fog?
POG, P-A-W-G.
Oh, yeah, fat-ass white girl.
Right. The mom is the basically epitome of that. I mean, they're drawing these characters with these hips because they want to turn on their audience.
Well, that and the secretary for Syndrome, that when Mr. Fantastic or Mr. Incredible goes and he's got this new job,
right?
And the secretary that comes out, she's basically built the exact same way,
right? Or also in The Incredibles, where the bad guy shows up at the door and he's got an S on his chest, and the lady's like, "What?" Because he's saying he's the babysitter, and she's like, "What does the S stand for?" He's like, "For sitter." Yeah, sitter. Originally, I was gonna have the initials for babysitter, but then I would have been going around wearing a big BS, and you can understand why I couldn't go with that.
Huh? Is it foreshadowing?
Could be. Oh, also, let's come back to Aladdin. When they had all that explosions, stuff like that, and you got Genie going, "I thought the Earth wasn't supposed to move until the honeymoon." And you referenced this earlier, and I caught it when you referenced it because it was in my research with the Emperor's New Groove, and you got Kronk laying on the ground on his back with a tent pitched over
over his crotch.
Yeah.
Yeah. That all right. I've been to Disneyland several times. Every time I go there, I try to find anything for sale of Emperor's New Groove because it is one of my favorite Disney movies. I think it's one of the funniest ones out there. You cannot find anything in that park about Emperor's New Groove. Now you go on the the log ride, Splash Mountain.
Yeah.
You're at the top of it. I just got done making the joke. You know what? How come they don't have an Uncle Remus walking around from Song of the South?
Oh, Jesus Christ.
And I'm laughing to myself about this joke. Ha, ha, ha. You get to the top of Splash Mountain, and it's all the characters from Song of the South, minus Tar Baby and Uncle Remus. Am I the only one that understands what you can't even buy this movie in the U.S. anymore. You can buy Japanese versions of it, but you cannot buy Song of the South in the United States because it is so fucking racist.
Oh, Jesus.
But they basically just took two characters out and said, this is a woodland scene. It's not a woodland scene.
Right.
I had a book that had a lot of this. It was like a whole. I wish I had it today. But you know those. It's like destroying your Star Wars toys because it was fun to blow them up in the sandbox. Now
Yes.
you pay for your child's education today.
Right.
I wish I used to have this Disney storybook, and in the middle of it, it actually had like an 8-page excerpt of Song of the South, and that's really where my reference from it goes because I've never seen the movie because it was banned before I was even knew what it was. But Song of the South?
Yeah, I saw it as a kid. Well, I remember Uncle Remus. I saw Uncle Remus as a kid.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, so that's really where my reference comes from, is from that Disney storybook that I had. I wish I still had that thing today.
Right. All right.
Because there's another book that's out there that's almost as racist as that. It's called Little Black Sambo.
Oh yeah.
And so you can look this up online. This is a real place. It's in Lincoln City in Oregon. It's called Sambos. And you walk into there and they've got these huge plywood cutouts painted up of the characters from this book. And I'm sitting there the first time, I'm like, oh my God, this is just too weird because there's a book called Little Black Sambo that is just like one of the most, it's straight up KKK shit. It's fucking racist as fuck. And I go walk out. As we're walking out of the place, I'm giggling and say, oh my God, they have to know. They have to know. And I go out and there's on the wall behind it's in a picture frame, right behind it, the place used to be called Little Black Sambos.
Oh, Jesus.
And it's place still exists today. They've got great hash browns, but I still can't believe, I don't understand why they haven't been attacked because there's places that have been hit for less.
Oh yeah, definitely. All right, back on subject. What about Ratatouille?
There's a lot of tiny tiny jokes in that one.
Yeah, here's a perfect one. When the guys talk to this girl, I don't remember their names. I've watched this, but it's been years. He's like, I have this tiny, a little, and she looks at him with a weird look on her face, going, little? Oh, but yes, lots of those jokes throughout the entire movie. Well, I found another one about 101 Dalmatians, the animated version.
Mm.
After the puppies are born, the dad's like, got his hand on his forehead. He's like, that makes 101 Dalmatians. And the wife's like, 101? But where did they all come from? And the dad's like, oh, Pongo, you old rascal, and shakes the dog's hand. Straight up like a dad going, that's my boy.
Right.
Oh, there's some wicked shit in there, man.
So, going through my notes here, there's one that we're going back to non-Disney, non-Warner Brothers. I guess it is Warner Brothers because it's a DC thing. There's one in the Justice League cartoon there where Flash is next to Hawk Girl and says, I'm the fastest man alive. And she says, well, maybe that's why you can't get a date.
Oh, zing. That's harsh.
Yeah.
Well, you look at Batman and Robin. Let's go to Batman and Robin. All right. You have a grown man, let's say mid to late 30s.
Right.
Running around with a teenage boy in skimpy tights that look like, boxer shorts, maybe.
Right.
A bit creepy. It kind of makes you wonder about the movie.
Right, and his name is Dick.
Right. Dick Grayson.
Yeah, Dick Grayson.
As in, it's almost as if the name itself says, I like old men.
Yes. I am a toy for old men.
Yep. I mean, that's a bit creepy.
Alfred has got to have. He must take a lot of shit to his grave.
Oh yeah. Oh,
And
Jarvis.
yeah, and doesn't Dick Grayson die and then Batman replaces Robin?
Yeah. There was
Okay,
like 3 different Robins.
yeah. It's you're getting a little bit too old. I'm going to trade you in for a newer model.
Right. Right. Meanwhile, Batman's getting older and he's wanting younger.
Yeah.
Isn't that like you look at it and that is basically the definition of midlife crisis.
Oh yeah, yeah. Because he's already got the toys, he doesn't have to buy a sports car.
Right. But he's just got to get a new little boy.
Yeah. I'm a creepy man who
runs around at night with a hood. I have no real superpowers.
But I've got a utility belt.
Right. With all sorts of gadgets.
Batman, next time, could you wear pants?
But it's ribbed for her pleasure.
No, I can't.
Oh.
Go Bat Dildo.
There you go. Inspector Gadget.
Oh, man. Oh, you want to talk about a creepy situation there. That's his niece? Really? Penny's
Yes.
his niece? Come on.
Right. What's the dog's name?
Is it Brain?
No. I don't know. My phone just did a update and reset itself, so I can't Google it right now. But she had a really strange relationship with this dog as well.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
we've got incest, pedophilia, and bestiality all in one cartoon.
All in one. And go sleeping gas.
Right. Well, and then we also have the bad guy. Can't remember his name, but he was infatuated.
Dr. Claw.
Yeah, Dr. Claw and his cat.
I'll get you, Gadget.
He's always petting his pussy cat.
Petting his pussy, yes. It was, okay, the dog was Brain.
Oh, it was Brain, okay.
Yeah.
But, I mean, they were just weird, strange relationship. And, the shit, and he was the most bumbling fool.
Yeah.
But he always accidentally solved the case.
Right, he was no Danger Mouse.
Right. Basically, he's a ripoff of Pink Panther.
Yeah, absolutely.
With gadgets.
Or Maxwell Smart.
Right. Get smart.
Yeah, he had gadgets, but he wasn't. Now, okay, what is Inspector Gadget? Is he cyborg?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, that's a tough call because, I mean, when his arm extends, it's metal. So I would have to say that he's probably cyborg, and the only true part of him that's human is maybe his face.
Just
and
his face.
Maybe, I don't know, did anything ever pop out of his chest?
I know, go Gadget cock.
Right.
That was something he left for Penny.
Right.
They didn't play that part on Nickelodeon for some reason.
Right. But, I mean, yeah, it was a straight up ripoff of Pink Panther instead of having Pink Panther's sidekick who was always kicking his ass.
Kato?
Yeah.
Kato.
You got Penny and Brain, who truly solve all the crime, just like
Right.
Kato solved crimes for Pink Panther.
It's kind of like the Velma, Shaggy, and Scooby. They really solved all the cases, while Fred and Daphne just walk around and talk about fashion.
Right. Velma on purpose, Shaggy and Scooby accidentally.
Yeah. Well, they stumbled upon finding the person at the end to actually capture him, but Velma puts the whole thing together.
Right. She knew it from the very beginning.
Yes.
Well,
because I tasted that powder, and I knew it wasn't Coke, that
right.
it had been talcum powder, so you're an old man.
Right. And I saw the size of your hands. I knew how big. Sorry.
You got a club foot and you wore a size 9, so, and I knew that the chances that the swamp beast didn't.
Right. Missed it by that much.
Nice. Maxwell Smart.
Oh, but I mean, you look at like even kids' shows, not just cartoons. Kids' shows are full of this shit.
Yeah.
My kids watched The Sweet Life of Zach and Cody,
Oh,
and the
I'm
mom,
sorry.
the mom, dude, I think she was sleeping with everybody.
Yeah, because one episode she's with the cruise director, the next one she's with the captain, next one she's with some valets.
Yep. And that uh, creepy head of the hotel dude, the African American gentleman, I can't remember his name in the show, but he was a little bit obsessed with those two boys.
Overly obsessed.
Yes. Yeah, he had a bit of a hard on for him, and
Yeah,
probably literally.
right. And you've got Ashley Tisdale and what's the little Asian girl's name?
Brenda's son.
Yeah. Why are you chasing the two little boys?
Right. Yeah, why be so obsessed with them? And granted, those two were young too, so they shouldn't be obsessed with any of them. Why not hook up with the mom?
Yeah. Right.
Because the mom wasn't ugly. She wasn't drop dead gorgeous,
No.
but she wasn't ugly either.
No,
So,
she was a
and she was
typical mom.
hooking up with everybody.
I mean, she's no Meredith Baxter Burney,
Right.
but
She was more the absentee parent, even though the boys lived with her.
right. Even though they live on a cruise ship.
Well, that was the later seasons.
Oh, they lived in a hotel to start with. That's right. Then later it was like on deck.
Right.
That's sad that I know that shit.
Well, and iCarly had. I mean, let's talk about the bad parenting in so many of these shows. iCarly has no parents. Her
None.
brother is her parent.
Right, and she's the more mature one of the two.
Right.
Because she's constantly setting things on fire.
And her best friend Sam had basically a crazy drunk alcoholic mother.
Right.
Which they never actually said it, but they hinted at it all the time.
Right. Because she was always asleep or with a friend, or she wasn't at home, or there was always something that why Sam snuck out or something.
Then you got this creepy little kid, this creepy boy who's their best friend, who because of all the gadgets and how technologically advanced he was, he had cameras in her bathroom and was watching her.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. He had drones that watched her while she was, Freddie, that was a kid's name.
Yeah, Freddie.
And the mom was Munchausen by proxy with the kid because she thought he had every ailment under the sun.
Right.
But she was the only parent that really showed up on a regular basis.
Right.
But she's like wiping his nose and wiping his ass and doing everything else.
Yeah. Basically stroking him.
Yeah, pretty much. But now let's go back to Spencer being Carly's older brother. Anything he touched seemed to spontaneously combust.
Yeah.
Fire was. I think he was a pyromaniac.
Oh yeah.
Because why else would socks catch on fire?
Not only was he a pyromaniac, but I think he took it to a sexual level.
I think so too.
I think he was aroused by fire.
I think he had a secret thing for Sam.
I don't know. See, I saw him more as asexual.
Oh. Like he's just going to bud and reproduce that way?
Yep. I mean, because to me, I didn't, when I was watching it with my kids, I didn't see him actually be interested in any females at all. Whereas Freddie wanted both Sam and Carly.
Right. He wanted that proverbial three-way.
Right. And then you had the chubby kid who kept taking his shirt off who wanted all of them, the guys and girls.
Gibby.
Yes. Gibby, the flasher, the nudist.
Yes. And it's, once again, I'll say it's pretty sad that I've probably seen every episode of that show.
Yep. Same here. But my kids watched it religiously.
Mine did too. We actually would make spaghetti tacos.
Okay.
We've actually made spaghetti tacos. I mean, they're actually pretty damn good.
Right. So, all right. Well, it is 9 minutes to 10 o'clock. So I think so let's sum up this episode.
All right. So how I sum up this episode and what I've gained from the research that we both did and we're talking for the last almost 2 hours is that the people in the entertainment industry are pervs.
Yeah, they're sick, twisted freaks.
Yes. And they like to push the envelope just to see how far they can go. And you know what? I'm okay with that.
I am too. I mean, funny is funny. It really is. People want to sit there and knock down fart jokes, but you know what? Fart jokes, dick jokes, they're funny.
People, you laugh. If people laugh, it's funny.
Exactly.
And the other thing too is what I firmly believe with all this is I think it's a shot at the rate. It's a come load to the face of the people that are easily offended. Because this shit is in their movies. There's so many. I know a bunch of people that wouldn't let their kids watch anything outside of the PG range, and then when they got old enough, they could finally watch PG-13 movies, and they, huge reins around their kids, their fucking hands around their kids' throat, and this shit was worse than the other movies that if they just would have let them watch.
Right. Oh, definitely. And the thing is, they don't actually research. Most of these parents don't research for themselves. It's hearsay from what somebody else said.
Exactly. And it makes my heart just smile is knowing that there's probably a little boy to an over-obsessed mother who runs around with his toys out in the sandbox, or she probably doesn't let him have a sandbox because that shit's dirty. So he's got a rug in a playroom that only his toys can stay in, and he's in there with all of his little cars in the middle, and he's talking about a fucking lemon party.
Right. And now that we know what a lemon party is,
that makes my heart happy.
Yes. Yes. And the irony of all of this is these overprotective parents, these basically sick, twisted individuals, don't even catch on to this humor that we've talked about throughout this entire episode.
Right. Like we were talking about before, walking through Walmart, and right there's a big old fucking cock next to Ariel's face, right between her face and her new lover.
Right.
And they're like, "Oh, should we buy Little Mermaid?" Yeah, you should, Mom, because we should give our kids a story of a grown man taking advantage of a 14-year-old fish.
Right.
Girl fish. and
her dad didn't really put up much of a fight with this either. He basically let her go. He said, no, don't do it, but he didn't really follow up on it.
Well, because she's a hoarder. He was tired of having her shit everywhere.
He's basically
that's just the problem.
Yeah. A lot of this stuff, I mean, I know this from, some classes I've taught in, with art and stuff, but a lot of this all of this really comes down to parenting.
Right.
There's no such thing as a perfect parent, and these people that strive to be so are just going to let themselves down and their children down.
Yeah.
Because they overcompensate.
In my view on parenting, and it's probably not the same as most people's, is they're going to find this shit out. So I tried to lessen the blow when it happened to them.
Right.
When they started, hearing about, dirty jokes, it's like I was watching movies like Blazing Saddles in the background. I was watching, I made them watch Caddyshack when they were young. I made them watch Animal House. I made them watch movies like The Money Pit and stuff like that. Which The Money Pit's, there's nothing wrong with The Money Pit, but there's a lot of adult humor in it.
Right.
But I made them watch, I threw movies like Caddyshack and Blazing Saddles and Young Frankenstein. I threw those in the mix with all these other movies that I forced them to watch that they all ended up loving because it softened the blow when this other shit came out. So when, it's like, you hear these stories about these parents that didn't let their kids eat candy until they got out on their own. Then they fucking eat candy, and the next thing you know, they're a crack junkie because I like this stimulant, I like this stimulant, I like this stimulant. And the next thing you know, they're
right.
I did it all just to kind of soften the blow and just let them, grow up like every other kid.
Right. I mean, there was a long time that I wouldn't let my kids watch Family Guy, just because they were watching it and it was the episode where Homer was, or not Homer, but Peter was teaching a sex ed class, and I was
Oh,
like,
right.
this is enough of that. But then, once they became like teenagers, I just kind of let it go.
Right. You know, I didn't let them watch. I didn't let them watch like Family Guy and stuff like that when they were super young. You know, but when they got old, you know, young teenage, it's like it's kind of hard to stop them because I'm not there to. They had TVs in their rooms. You know, they have cell phones. They can watch this shit anyway. So
They're
if
gonna
I'm
find
kind of monitoring what they're doing and they're doing it with me, then I felt like I was kind of a part of their life at that time.
right. Yeah.
And, and our kids all turned out all right. So
Right. Well, okay. Anyways, we're summing it up, and we talked about cartoons, we talked about live action movies, but they're basically all these movies and cartoons were aimed at kids. They weren't like the ones that are aimed at adults, but they were full of adult humor, and we touched on that. We went down several different dark paths. We talked about Robert Downey Jr. and Less Than Zero, which had nothing to do with their entire conversation.
no, but it was a good segue.
Yep. But so that basically sums up tonight's episode.
And thank you all for listening tonight. Insert catchphrase here.
Tonight's episode was sponsored by the letter "fuck you."
You know, that's what we didn't do at the beginning, so we'll have to do it right now.
Oh yeah.
In this episode, you're going to hear things and opinions that may not be along the side of yours, but if you did listen all the way to this point and you were offended, remember being offended is a choice, and you listened to this point, so fuck you.
Right. If you're easily offended, you probably shouldn't go out into the world. You should hide in a little closet and never let anybody talk to you.
So we want you to go into a hole, under a mattress,